Work-family conflict among medical professionals. What is work-family conflict? Work-family conflict occurs when there is an imbalance between work and family. This conflict can be in two ways: work-family conflict or family-work conflict. Work-family conflict exists due to the demands placed by the career. Also, people had to place their career in front of their families, causing conflict to arise at home. This means that people miss work to be with their families. Family work conflict occurs when the pressure for the family and work domains are mutually incompatible, and as a result, participation in the work role is made more difficult by the virtue of participation in the family role. However, there's people missing important events because they had to work longer hours or they had to make up work.
The demographics of the workforce has changed. There are more dual-income families and single-parent families in today's workforce compared to previous generations. We are going to take a closer look at the work-family conflict that occurs in the healthcare setting. Jeffrey Greenhouse and Nicholas Butel looked at this topic a few decades ago. There are three types of work-family conflict. Time-based work-family conflict. It is difficult to participate in one role if you have a commitment to another role. One may feel the pressure to participate in dual roles both at work and family at the same time. Employees may be asked to prioritize their time. They may also reflect on how they spend their time during the workday and their needs at home. Some employees may request time off to attend family needs over work obligations. Strain-based work-family conflict. It can be seen as an increase in workload or an increase in demands. For example, in a given shift for a medical professional which ranges from 10 to 12 hours a day, the number of patients varies daily. An increase in the number of patients can be seen as a strain for an employee. This healthcare employee is still expected to assist with all patients assigned to their schedule, or a strain can occur when an employee actively participates in family events outside of work. It can place a productivity strain in the work environment for others. Coverage may be needed, and medical staff may feel that they have a shortage of personnel for the day because an employee took time off. Finally, behavior work-family conflict. In this type of work-family conflict, a behavior that is effective in one role, for example, an authoritative style, is inappropriately applied to other role, reducing one's effectiveness in the other role. Healthcare professionals must change their attitude or behavior for patient safety. Other external stressors that cause work conflict include competing demands and schedules. The healthcare system is evolving. Hospitals have undergone restructuring and downsizing. There are also a number of other factors that cause work-family conflict, including heavy workload, long hours, interruption of family life, training issues, supervising activities of other personnel, and keeping up to date with medical knowledge.
Frontline nurse manager. Nurse managers are the front line when it comes to dealing with their staff, doctors, patients, and the families and friends of patients. They have to be caring, nurturing, and sympathetic to the needs of others. They have a tough role, and if they have a family at home, they have to play this role at work and with the family, and it can be very stressing and overwhelming. They really have to balance the pressures between the family and work domain. There are 5 personality types that influence work-family conflict on nurses. The first is consciousness. A person in this type of personality tends to carefully plan, are selective, and manage his or her time effectively and efficiently. The second is neuroticism. This characteristic can lead a person to experience more stress, not only in work, but also in the family domain. The third is extroversion. They're more able to adapt to the pressures and changing situations, which minimize the possibilities of conflict among work and family demands. The fourth is agreeableness. They tend to value social harmony and peacefulness, and agreeableness can minimize interpersonal conflict and lead to a low level of the work-family conflict. The fifth is openness to experience, and they are more tolerant in accepting changes, seeking alternative instead of conventional way in problem solving, and they're more creative. Today, there are more roles for the nurse manager, such as administrative management, broader responsibilities for direct patient care, managing staff nurses, leadership and organizational resource management. These items can lead to increased job stress, and they also have high burnout and turnover rates in their role. Nurse managers and leadership competencies. There are actually about 20 in this particular study, but I think some of the most important ones are caring, conflict resolution, inspiring commitment, building effective teams, maintaining focus on patient and customer, and doing whatever it takes.
There are many health implications for medical professionals, leading to many things, most commonly suicide, and this definitely has a toll on work-family conflict. An estimated 300 to 400 physicians die by suicide in the U.S. annually, and the most common age range for suicide is the 24 to 34 age range. Also, males have a higher risk of being suicidal, as do women, and among physicians, the risk for suicide increases when mental health conditions go unaddressed. And this is really bad also because a lot of these physicians have access to medication, and so they self-medicate themselves thinking that they can address the problem that way, but it just covers it up, and quite often the means of suicide by physicians are lethal medication overdoses and firearms. Physicians have higher rates of burnout, depressive symptoms, and suicide risk than the general population. And the biggest problem is that they do not seek help. And physicians report several barriers to seeking mental health care, including time constraints and hesitancy to draw attention to their own weaknesses. And a lot of times they're concerned about their reputation. And they find it hard to consult with their fellow colleagues, and also for confidentiality reasons. Drivers of burnout include workload, work inefficiency, lack of autonomy and meaningful work, and work-home conflict. There are many health implications as well as depression, and depression is a major concern for healthcare professionals, and it affects their daily function both at home and at work. Depression clouds their judgment, and it is the most psychiatric diagnosis for healthcare professionals, and that comes along with alcoholism and substance abuse. Depression is affecting an estimated 12% and up to 19.5% of females, and it starts in medical school. That's where these type of things start at. Healthcare professionals are really poor at recognizing depression for themselves, and they're often reluctant to seek treatment. A lot of times they think of it as, they want to avoid it, and they're in disbelief, and they really don't want to recognize these signs because they feel worthless and hopeless once this is discovered. Physicians and healthcare professionals deal with a number of things every day that they are exposed to, and the high stress that they have to deal with begins in medical school. Passing boards and exams is a very stressful time for them, and it doesn't stop there. Their high work hours, everything is fast-paced, and they do not get enough sleep. Every day they're exposed to disease, they're exposed to death, trauma, and incurable. Oftentimes they feel like they're useless when they cannot save a patient, and this itself leads to depression. So they have to deal with a lot of things. Also, when they bond with a patient that they've been treating and then something happens to that patient, it's really difficult for them to overcome those feelings. And it's especially hard for medical professionals that deal with very sick children. A lot of times all these feelings, they cause the feelings of failure, self-doubt, sadness, and powerlessness as a part of their grieving and feeling experience.
It all happened at this hospital behind me.
Healthcare workers say this is happening so often now, they're demanding more protection.
A firefighter and 2 employees of the hospital were stabbed also.
Tonight, the shocking incident caught on camera.
Stabbing the very people trying to help him.
Nurses across Massachusetts getting attacked while they're on their job.
It's a bad problem getting worse. Violence in hospitals targeting nurses and other employees.
They save lives and help people heal, but an NBC Action News investigation found some nurses also fear for their safety.
A recent survey found the numbers have jumped 37% in the last 3 years.
Oh, God.
Suddenly, all hell breaks loose as Lubin lunges at Lauren and grabs her by the neck.
Brutal beating at a Brooklyn hospital. A nurse was just doing her job when a patient snapped.
Healthcare workers are nearly 5 times more likely than other employees to suffer violent acts at work.
Nursing's a very difficult job these days. We experience a lot of workplace violence, and I believe it's increasing.